so thrilled to be moderating this session today. This is an exciting topic, exciting discussion, and especially for exciting times right now. So welcome on behalf of the Collin County Business Alliance. Today's panel is part of the last pillar where we are excited to leverage our already existing platform, Collin County Votes, which we also call CCV, which is an initiative that has actively led voter engagement efforts focused on education and awareness of Collin County citizens since 2017. And building a strong and diverse candidate pipeline that represents the Collin County community as a whole is one way to move the needle on voter engagement. Today, I am thrilled to be talking to our esteemed panelists who are also my colleagues, who are all experts in the D&I field. We have Mandy Price and Vernetta Walker to learn a little bit more about the challenges and opportunities to increase diversity in the candidate pipeline and how the business community can help, in the hope that we can inspire and engage more people to run for office. And we also have Judge Angela Tucker, who is a sitting judge and will talk to us about some of the challenges and things that we need to address to ensure that we get more candidate pipeline of diversity so that we can, again, increase voter engagement. So thank you all for joining us this morning. So let's start into the conversation here. And we're going to start talking first about the data and what the data tells us. So statistics have shown, and it's been out here for a while now, that by 2040, the United States of America will be a minority majority country. Yet, when we look at the data from 2018, 93% of the people that ran for federal government were white, and 80% of them were men. The stats here in Collin County are very similar. The current makeup of our government does not reflect the nation's current nor the growing diversity that we know is coming. So let's talk about why it's so important for us to focus on this area and try to encourage more diversity in the candidate pipeline. So Mandy, let's start with you first.
Yeah, sure. So we know that diversity, equity, inclusion, and having representation is critical because when we have alternative perspectives, we lower the likelihood of groupthink. So we know that when we have diverse groups of people together, they make better decisions. And it's important and critical that we have those variety of perspectives at the table, not only amongst business leaders, right? And so this is why for so long, diversity, equity, inclusion has been so important in the business within corporate America, but it's critical as well within the government context when we're thinking about ensuring that the decision makers are really thinking about the common good, are understanding different perspectives as far as with the citizenry. And so it's really, really important that we have that diverse representation within government to ensure that we aren't really limiting our decision-making and really thinking about the greater effect of the common good as far as how the decisions are going to affect society.
Great, thank you for that. Vernetta, do you have anything that you would add to that response?
Yes, I like everything that Mandy said. I would just add, and so this is I'm going to say add on. We need diverse perspectives. We need different lived experiences. We need to bring individuals who can contribute to solutions from a viewpoint or a vantage point that others may not have. So when we have these homogeneous boards, that's missing. And that means we're missing opportunities to create solutions that are considering the whole, as opposed to a select few and thinking that they can make decisions that are in the best interest of everyone. When we're missing voices, we're missing opportunities.
Exactly. And that's a common area that we probably need to talk more about, because you're right. How do we make sure that we have that perspective from all walks of life, all aspects of our community? Judge Tucker, we know that there are key reasons for the lack of diversity in public office boards and commissions. Can you kind of maybe shed a little bit of light on what you think actually contributes to some of that lack of diversity?
I believe that it's very important, and I'm going to echo everything that's already been said by the panelists. From my perspective, each of us are a sum total of our life experiences, and that's what we bring to any position that we're in. And so when you have a different life experience than the individuals that you're working with or those that you're making decisions about, as Mandy pointed out, you're going to miss the mark. There are going to be issues. From the judicial standpoint, we focus on implicit bias because we bring that to the bench. And as judges, we are the gatekeepers. And so I think it's important that we get training. I was on a call yesterday with Austin, with some of the state reps, because it's not required right now that all judges in Texas receive training. It's offered, but it's not a requirement. And so there are discussions about whether or not judges in Texas should be required to receive training on implicit bias, because again, you're bringing to the bench, whatever it is or what you don't know. And we know from in the CPS realm, there are disproportionality groups because the majority of children in foster care are African American or Latino. Same thing with the criminal justice system. The majority of the people that we see in the penitentiary are Black and brown. And so we have to be aware of those things. But when we have boards or positions and everyone is of a different race than those individuals being affected, then we have to look at those systems and figure out why that is and what perspective they're bringing, what perspective is missing in the room. And so I do believe it's very important, and I don't want to repeat what's been said, but I do think it's very important to have diversity in all areas.
That's a really good point. I want to put a pin in something that you just mentioned around the training and that being optional versus being a requirement, particularly when you talk about, we all know that we have bias, right? We know that we have this bias that we carry around, and it does impact our decision-making and our outlook and our perspective in terms of how we approach problem solving and different issues. Mandy, talk a little bit about why or how this could benefit our public office candidates if this diversity training was made aware or made required for those who are interested in becoming candidates to run for office.
Yeah, no. So Adrian, I think all of us as D&I professionals know that we all have bias, right? But I think that some people still do not believe that, right? When they think of any type of structural systems that perpetuate the inequities that we see, or this understanding of everyone has bias, I think we're still fighting that battle. And when I look at some of the discussions that ran around the requirement that the state bar that Judge Tucker is talking about, there was a lot of resistance from individuals saying that this should not be required. It should be someone's choice, and people still trying to frame these issues as political issues. Treating people fairly, understanding and ensuring we have a fair systems are not political issues. Those are things that are the commonality that we should all want in our systems, right? Be it in the corporate sphere, especially in the criminal justice system, that we are producing a system that's fair for everyone.
Bernetta, let's talk about that local election turnout just a little bit more, because again, 20% is really limited. And given that many times local elections impact how we live on a daily basis, even more so than at the federal level. Do you have anything that you would actually, that you would offer in addition to what Judge Tucker has said in terms of how we can increase that diversity candidate pipeline?
Yes, as I think about it, it's interesting. There are a lot of qualified individuals in whatever county we're talking about. They're there. Sometimes, and there are a couple of things that I think factor into the pipeline. Sometimes when we don't see people like ourselves, we think this is not for us. We don't have a shot. We won't have an opportunity. Also, we know that some individuals essentially get what I call the tap on the shoulder. Someone's whispering in their ear. They're planting that seed that, hey, you should consider this. You should run for this. Or if it's a board where the individuals are appointed, you should submit your name for this. Quite often, racial and ethnic individuals, we're not getting that tap on the shoulder or that nod, that wink of approval. I personally experienced that early on in my career. I said I was at a law firm, so I kind of stood out. And it was actually an African-American partner at another firm who, in that mentoring role, said, you should put your name in the hat for a gubernatorial appointment for a local board. And I was like, really? And so he talked to me about it. And I submitted my credentials, and I talked to the partners at the firm to let them know. I wanted to know, is this okay? Is it a conflict? and they didn't have a problem with it. But I'll tell you, someone whispered in my ear, you don't have a snowball's chance of getting it. I was like, well, okay. And guess what? I got it. And then it was, hey, who do you know? Like, how did you do that? It happens all the time for others. We're not aware of it. And I would say that for everyone who has the opportunity, talk to others about running. Go to places where people of color are, talk to them about opportunities, share the information because it's lacking. And to bring this story full circle, a young woman who used to work with me, and I say like young, I mean that young woman, I was telling her some stories, and fast forward about 2 years ago, I ran into her. She was running for a county seat. And she said, I remember the story that you told me. I was blown away by that. So we have the opportunity to influence individuals, let them know it's okay. And another thing that I would say that I don't see enough of across the country, as you were talking about the process and how things are changing and people voting for the top names on the ticket, quite often that happens because there's not enough information that is easily accessible. I know all candidates have information out there, but something that I recall when I was in Florida, and I don't think this exists anymore, there was a center that would compile in a nonpartisan way all of the issues that were on the ballot, but user-friendly, and for the candidates, just kind of giving those top bullet points. I find here that, I'm researching each candidate individually. We need to make it easier. We need to make it more accessible.
But Mandy, what advice or suggestions would you have for those who might have an interest in running? How do we encourage them to step forward?
So one of the things that I think that people are often intimidated by, right, is fundraising. And so much of being elected, right, is being involved with some of the parties, right? And so how introducing folks to and helping them understand the process, I think earlier on is really important. I think one of the things that business leaders and other folks can do as well is helping with that early support on the fundraising side, being able to get your message out, to be able to really have that additional funding to launch your campaign is key and critical, not only to letting voters know who you are, but letting the parties, right, no matter what party you are, know that you are a serious candidate. So I think that's something that business leaders can do to help encourage candidates from underrepresented communities to run and to help them have more successful campaigns.
Excellent, excellent. Judge Tucker, I'm sure that you have a lot of information here, given that you've done this before. We know that it takes a lot of help and support from family and friends in the community. What words of advice would you give to those that might have an interest in running?
I believe, well, yes, it does take a village. And that was the approach that I took. I had my internal core that was part of the internal part of Team Tucker. And then I just worked from inside out. But you literally, as a candidate, need every friend, family member, PTO mom, church member, everyone that you know and everyone that they know to help you when it comes to campaign time. So exactly with the fundraising, that is huge. And I think that is one thing that's difficult for those of us that come from communities of color. And it's hard, as I said before, for women sometimes to ask for money. And when you're a candidate, you're having to really go out there and market yourself, explain to people who you are, and ask for those funds. And that, again, engages your family, your friends, everyone. I utilized, like I said, the village approach. So I used high school students to help me with social media, technology, all of those things. Some of them needed what they call green cord hours or volunteer hours. So after school, they would come to my office and help with various things. The boys would help put signs up. So literally you need all sorts of people. They would go out there and put signs up, which I can just tell you is really, really hard work, pounding into the Texas dry dirt to get those signs up. You need people to take them down. Also people to work the polls. So when it is actually time to vote, a lot of times, just because I was out there, an individual may have come to vote for a top ballot race, but because I was there and they saw me and I asked if they vote for me when they went in, I got a lot of votes that way. So poll greeting is huge. And so you have to utilize your network to have someone at every single polling place. And I was very blessed to be able to cover every single polling place, have individuals out there from when the polls open at 7 to the polls close at 7. So that's a lot of people, if you think about it, that you need in your network. If someone's volunteering for an hour, okay, then who's coming the next hour? It's hot outside, so I need someone taking water. I need someone delivering food to make sure all of my volunteers are okay. And then I talked about the young people. On the flip side of that, oftentimes we think that our elderly can't do anything. So I had a group of senior ladies from my church that would come to my office and stuff bags. So candidates have push cards, which is the literature that they were mentioning that you're giving out to people. So when you're walking neighborhoods, which is another time to engage your friends, family, supporters, you're knocking on doors. And so they would come to my office, stuff my push cards in bags, and then the volunteers would go deliver those bags or knocking on doors to try to get the word out. And so you can use everybody and you should use everyone in your network. And like I said, don't leave anyone out, because those ladies were so helpful and it made them feel good that they were working to help someone. But I think sometimes we kind of overlook those facets of our community. The other thing is I didn't ignore any facet of my community. So I think that oftentimes candidates only focus, for example, on the West Side. They go to the West Side of Plano or the West Side of McKinney. I walked both sides, the East Side as well as the West. And one of the judges asked me, why do you always have more votes than the rest of us? And I told her it's because I go places that you all don't go. I mean, a vote is a vote. And I think sometimes we don't, Mandy pointed out, we focus on the party, but we don't focus on the people. And the people are the individuals that go vote for you. And so I'm going to ask for the vote no matter what community you live in and what you look like. If you're white, black, or brown. My Team Tucker was white, black, and brown. And so you need to engage your network, increase your network, and it's everyone and everyone they know. That's how you get the word out.
Thank you all so much. And for those that may have an interest, Collin County Votes now has a resource center on their website, which has some really great information for those candidates that might want to get started and prepare to run for office. So thank you all so much for your discussion this morning. Great points, great information, and thank you all for attending and joining us today.